I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Congressman Burgess Owens spoke about a cognitive test given to athletes after their playing days to determine if there was brain damage. His comments came at a House Oversight Committee hearing on Wednesday. The Utah Republican and former NFL player lit into Commissioner Roger Goodell over race-based brain testing. The NFL agreed to pay $1 billion in their plea deal with the players. Listen in to the response from Goodell.
I want to thank again Chairwoman Maloney, Ranking Member Comer, and members of the committee for holding this hearing and especially for allowing me to participate. I'd like to thank Commissioner Goodell for coming to the committee today. It's been a long dream of mine to ask the Commissioner some questions, and I'm going to take a little different tack, something I'm very, very concerned about with NFL. The term racism is thrown around today with alarming and casual frequency. For example, according to Newsweek, requiring black individuals to get an ID to vote is racist. According to NBC News, requiring college applicants to include letters of recommendation in their application is racist. And my absolute favorite, a recent U.S. Today headline asking if math is racist. What's truly racist is this condescending, soft bigotry of low expectation that has far too long plagued my community. It was prevalent when I entered the NFL in 1973, when it was understood that certain positions were reserved for whites only. Positions of leadership and intelligence like quarterback, center, middle linebacker, free safety, and head coaches were considered off limits to black Americans. Doug Williams finally broke the white quarterback barrier in 1988 as the NFL's first black quarterback to both start and win a Super Bowl championship. Yet, Commissioner, decades later, despite all this progress on and off the field, we're once again forced to discuss, under your watch, the NFL's engagement in racism behind the scenes. In June 2021, the NFL was forced to announce it was ending its practice of race norming when paying out compensation to players experiencing brain damage due to concussions on the field. The NFL has for years used separate tests based on race to score players' cognitive threshold. The test taken by black players was different than that by white players. The result determined if financial compensation was warranted. Doctors were required to use race-based norms that assumed black players were inherently less intelligent than their white teammates. If this sounds like a throwback to the Jim Crow laws of Deep South, that's because it is. This practice came to an end only after lawsuits against the league by two former black NFL players who were accidentally given the cognitive test normally reserved for white players. When they both qualified for compensation, the NFL demanded that they be tested again. This time, when the clinician applied the race norming algorithm recommended by the NFL program manual, they were denied compensation. As a result of this practice, NFL compensated injured black players and their families less than white players and their families. To say that black players should be judged by a lower standard of brain function than their white teammates is without question a perfect example of real racism. Commissioner, due to time, I have a couple questions. Just wanted some yes and no's, if you wouldn't mind. Do you acknowledge that until 2021, the race norming algorithm was used to evaluate intelligence of black players as part of the NFL class action settlement?
Was it a specific time that you're asking about? But this, as you know, I think this is an issue that was part of a settlement with our former players.
Yes.
Federal judge oversaw it.
Yeah. Commissioner, if you wouldn't mind, Commissioner, if you wouldn't mind. Yes, this was back in this 2013 settlement. Did you recognize the race norming algorithm was part of that settlement? You commented on that, and I know the NFL has apologized for that.
Yes, the two parties agreed to that because it was a standard medical procedure. What we agreed to do just recently is change that.
I'd like to reclaim my plans. Thank you so much. Do you agree that the NFL's use of a scale for black Americans versus those of any other race is the definition of systemic racism? Real simple, yes or no?
It was not required by any doctor to use those standards, and we adopted new standards.
If it was not required, then why was it used? Because at the end of the day, there was a separate system used for black and whites. Okay,
that's a medical standard far beyond the NFL.
That being said, I know you apologize for it. NFL has apologized. I'll just say, let me just say this real quickly. Speaking on behalf of my black and white brothers who gave their their careers to make sure that we got past racism. This is an atrocity. And the fact the NFL has judged black people at a different rate and intelligence than white people is something that needs to be looked at. And I look forward to having this longer conversation with you as we get into the coming months. And I think, I'll yield back.
The gentleman yields back.
Congressman.
The gentlewoman from Michigan.